Ghost of Tsushima is known to be a masterpiece of a video game, from gameplay to story to everything in between. And this a-hole named Chev is going to review it in just 2 hours of game time? Impossible. You will never get a proper deep understanding of the game, and yes, you're right. However, this is the period where Steam allows you to still refund a video game, hence the title of the series. And of course, I hope you understand that the premise of all this is to provide you with some silly entertainment. Yet, I do still believe that within that time frame, you can definitely decide on if you are interested in playing the game or if refunding is the better option for you. So, I invite every single one of you beautiful people to join me on this very brief journey through Ghost of Tsushima and figure out if you should refund this game. And of course, I would also like to hear from you. Let me know down below how you feel about this game, and also enjoy the comments of the people who clearly only saw the thumbnail/title, wrote a Harry Potter book of a comment, missing the mark of it, and kind of just clicked off straight away because you can literally tell. Let's laugh at them together because they clearly don't want to be entertained. Oh, and leave a like to help me get this video seen by as many people as possible, and subscribe if you like this silly series. Enough yapping, let's go over the story, gameplay, and everything in between, and decide if you should refund Ghost of Tsushima. Something I can really appreciate is when a game embraces its setting properly, and oh boy, does this game do a great job at it. When you start the game, you have the choice between playing it in English or Japanese, which on its own is not very revolutionary. I mean, most games have different voiceovers, but the team at Sucker Punch made sure to have a quality experience available in both English and Japanese without having one of them lack in quality. I chose to use the English ones for this playthrough, but if I do play any further, I will for sure switch to the Japanese voiceover because, you know, the game is kind of set in Japan. And that immersion it tries to give you early on isn't just from how the story sounds, and the music for that matter, but the way the story is presented to the player as well. You start off with a big battle scene between the samurais you play as and the Mongols that are invading the island of Tsushima, which does a fantastic job at setting the table of the two factions. The honorable Japanese samurai that want to go into a duel, and the ruthless barbaric Mongols that don't really care about anything. The uncle of the main character, Lord Shimura, my apologies in advance by the way for my pronunciations of things if I butcher it, I'm trying my best, but Japanese just so happens to not be my first language. Lord Shimura goes up to the Mongol leader to challenge him to an honorable duel, and well, the Mongol leader throws some alcohol on Shimura and sets him on fire instead. This scene alone just perfectly shows where everyone stands without over-explaining it. You play as Jin Sakai, a honorable samurai, and you take on the barbaric Mongols. This is explained in less than 5 minutes of cutscene and doesn't really get elaborated on any further. It's obvious and creates an instant distaste for the player towards the bad guys in the game, who are obviously the Mongols. Another thing regarding the cinematics of this game is that the way they switch over to actual gameplay. A lot of games try to have smooth transitions, but with Ghost of Tsushima, there were times where I was sitting there like, oh shit, I actually have to do something, which might be me problem, but is something I way prefer as it makes everything feel a lot more seamless. The graphics also play a huge part in this, because truthfully, I don't know the technicality of this, but the cutscenes and graphics within the game don't look too dissimilar. Sometimes when you play games, the cutscenes look a certain way, and then you switch to actual gameplay and it looks either 10 times better or worse comparatively, but this game does a fantastic job at consistency. It literally looks the same as it does in the cutscenes as it does outside of the cutscenes. There's no real graphical changes. There probably is in some details, but overall it does look a lot more attached. At this point, I don't really have anything negative to say really, as you can probably tell, because there weren't many things I encountered that would validate such statements. I guess I had some frame drops at some point after I was thrown off the bridge after fighting Khotun Khan, the capture of her uncle and the Mongol leader, yet besides that, there weren't many issues I encountered, besides one, which we get to later. That battle with Khan, by the way, kind of made me feel how I do in most video games after the game held my hand with explaining everything combat related one by one, and then you finally get to try it out without the training wheels and you suddenly get slapped the F up. Come to find out, this is an unwinnable battle and you had to lose this. setting up the premise that we have to get stronger and recruit allies to take on Khan to save her uncle and take control back over the island. The game actually does a great job at introducing combat to you, and I wish more games did it like how Ghost of Tsushima does it. Truthfully, they don't just do it with combat introductions, but with most gameplay elements where possible. They make it fit in with the story. Once you find your katana back, after passing out during the big battle at the start of the game, you get a flashback to you and your uncle training with wooden swords, which functions as the combat tutorial. Square to attack, tap triangle to break defenses, triangle press for heavy attacks, circle to dodge, and R1 to block/parry. Simple enough and functions so well throughout the game. With most games, one of the following are usually the way to go. Dodging and then attacking, or simply just hacking and slashing, or spamming parry. But somehow, Sucker Punch managed to make the combat in the first 2 hours varied enough where I actually had to consider my moves in battle, versus just spamming one strategy, because that simply didn't work. There's probably some Tsushima pro watching this typing, "Oh such bro, parrying is clearly the superior style." By the way, please keep typing comments, they're good for the algorithm. But even so, it actually felt to me that I had to switch it up in various battles, otherwise I wouldn't be able to win. Have you figured out what part of the combat tutorial I'm trying to do tricks on here? Yeah, it's not the simplicity of how it's explained, but the way it is implemented. It isn't a shameless tutorial where you have training wheels and can try out your techniques. I mean, by definition it technically is, but it fits into the story as well. It shows you the bond Jin has with his uncle after his dad passed away and gives you a reason to get him back instead of, "He's my uncle, we need him back, the bad guy got him." It shows humanity and character in a very short time frame, and at the same time, it also teaches you the mechanics of the video game. And like I said, the game does this with so many elements, trying to make it fit within the game's world. Is there a marker for where you need to go? No. Instead, there's wind, which ties into the lore of Jin's father telling him to follow the wind just before he died. Or how the character you meet early on recognizes you as you're part of an important clan. In fact, the only part of the clan because everyone is dead at this point. But at the same time, that character you meet also explains some game mechanics to you, like how writing haikus in certain places gives you special gear, which also explains things about the region you write haikus in. It is integration inception. Or there's another good example where this other character recognizes your sword and asks you to cut some bamboo for him, which is a mechanic throughout the world to get extra resolve points, which can be used for special attacks or to heal your character. Once again, it's nothing revolutionary by any means, but it just functions so well and didn't make me feel like I was in a tutorial area, which I clearly was. This Shoot You Refund series obviously is me pretty much playing tutorials of video games and deciding if I enjoy them. And I can assure you, most of the times it's just a very boring experience and you're kind of just waiting to actually play the video game. Yet this game throws you in straight away and holds your hand without you realizing they're doing so, and that is the absolute best way to introduce anyone to a game. Now, let's have some critique. Yes, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. Okay, hold on. Let me check my notes real quick. Armor. Actually, not the armor weapon system. They're kind of great, but we'll get to it. No, instead, I had some sort of Hero of Tsushima armor set that was a digital purchase bonus. I never really know how to really feel about those, as it did have stats and was better than the things I had, but on the flip side, it does feel a bit random going from broken armor and not have any mention of armor in the game in general to a sick armor set without doing anything. Yeah, it's very nitpicky, but I think you're getting the vibe where the Shoot You Refund is going, right? Like, surely you are, and if you're not, then brother, you're kind of missing the point. At first, I actually thought this armor set might have been an accessibility feature, which might sound kind of crazy, but with how this game tries to add in things in a natural manner, it wouldn't have actually surprised me. Some games give an overpowered armor/weapon set early on for less able people so they can enjoy the game as well, which I can very much appreciate as someone myself who needs certain accessibility features as a visually impaired clown. Just not those. The game really does a fantastic job at actual accessibility features, by the way. For example, having the wind be more visible, a glint for incoming heavy attacks, a screen marker for incoming arrows, or even an option to have slightly more time to react to certain actions. As someone who lacks peripheral vision, and vision in general, these are very welcome, as I still have to actually learn how to play the game, yet the extra time given in certain combat encounters, or the glint, is just the help I need without it feeling like I'm playing a different game compared to someone who doesn't need any of these features. Okay, so what about the earlier mentioned armor and weapon system? As far as I could tell, it seems very simple, and I really like that. There might be more later on, but for now, there was no overcomplicated weapon upgrade system or gathering process for materials to improve your gear. Just some cosmetics that you could wear, and I love that. I really hope they allow you to just upgrade the katana, as it used to be your dad's, instead of having to find new ones. There's a whole story behind it, and I hate it when games require you to use other weapons because they simply outclass the starting main one that has the story behind it. Looking at you, Hidden Blades, in modern Assassin's Creed games, but overall, they just do a great job at just keeping this very limited early on, because it can be overwhelming enough when you start a video game. Because there's also a skill tree system in the game, which they also limited at the start, and only has a few things you can upgrade. I decided to spend my points on increasing my dodging and attacking after each dodge, and that simplicity is just very nice. It could just be too overwhelming when there's everything visible at once, whilst you don't know what you would need in the game later on, kind of making you feel like you should make the right choice right now because you might screw yourself over later, requiring you to read the entire skill tree because you want to start off early, and it's just a whole mess. And this game just kind of limits you, gives you a few options, and it's like, okay, well, I guess I just have to choose. They don't sound that powerful. Let's just pick one and we'll kind of figure it out. On the subject of overwhelmingness, if that's even a word, once a world becomes a bit more open worldy, you don't have 1,001 things to do. Just 2 missions, a side mission and a main mission. Maybe 1 or 2 points of interest, and everything in between you discover naturally. This is amazing, because the game doesn't make you feel like you have to search every nook and cranny because you might miss that one upgrade that you kind of need early on, and then you read about it somewhere online afterwards. No, you just go to what you want to do and call it a day. After my first side quest, where I tried to liberate a student of a sensei who teaches me how to use a bow and arrow to free that student from a Mongol camp, who apparently betrayed the sensei and sided with the Mongols and taught them how to use their sacred archery technique, I explored around a bit and my timer went off. By the way, before we get to the conclusion of this video, the sensei lives in a house that really reminds me of the house of the sensei in Demon Slayer. Just me? Anyway, it is time to decide, even though you probably already know, should you refund Ghost of Tsushima? Obviously, no. There has not been a game that I enjoyed this much straight away in a very, very long time. Usually, when I make these videos, I look at my timer to see when it's almost over, because the tutorial slog just bores me. With Ghost of Tsushima, I was also looking at my timer, but instead to see how much I had left because I was enjoying myself so much. The setting of the game is just immaculate. Not only does it look great, but the way everything seems to fit into the world as a whole is just amazing. The overarching story, as of now, is that Jin wants to free his uncle from the barbaric Mongols that are trying to take over the island that they live on. Simple enough, but they manage to make you care in a very short time. By setting up your relationship with your uncle, your dad, and even your attachment to your katana, and of course the island of Tsushima itself, because you get introduced to characters who share their horror stories with the Mongols. Quite frankly, you also get to see some of those horror stories play out. They made me care in just 2 hours. Do you have any idea how hard that is to do? There aren't many games that truly get you invested into a story like this one. Usually, when the story is good, the gameplay isn't the greatest. I love The Last of Us, and it's probably my favorite story-based video game of all time. But the gameplay, whilst it's very good, isn't anything to really write home about. But the way Ghost of Tsushima does its combat, where you don't just hack and slash, but also make you think about what your next move is going to be without overcomplicating it, is a masterclass on how to have fun and engage in combat without losing the player with weird complexities early on. This also allows you to have variation in enemies. A guy with a big maul that quickly attacks twice, which you need to dodge. Or a shielded dude who you need to break the armor off. or the simple grunts you can just dodge and then hack and slash until they don't exist anymore. And by introducing systems in a natural story told way, and when that isn't possible, like with the skill tree, in a watered down, non-overwhelming way, you get a game that is just incredibly strong from a gameplay perspective. So if you are looking for a game with a strong narrative, incredible setting and engaging gameplay, Ghost of Tsushima is the game I would recommend to anyone. And yes, for those who might have been wondering, I still spit left after sucking off this game so much. Anyway, what do you think of Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing if you like this silly series. And my name is Chev. See you guys in my next video.